Welcome to PlusOne, the series where each month I look at the free games on PlayStation Plus and tell you if they're worth the download. After all, the games may be free, but your time is valuable. Today is the final time that I'll be covering PlayStation Plus's PS3 and Vita cross-buy titles. Once March comes around, Sony's only offering PS4 games for free going forward. These final two games are Gunhouse and Rogue Aces, two smaller Vita titles designed around pick-up-and-play action. Do either of these games work well with the stationary nature of a console? Is PS Plus for the Vita ending with a bang or a whimper? And most importantly, are these games worth your time? No, they're not. Let's start with Rogue Aces, a 2018 side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game made by Infinite State Games. You'll take control of a pilot who's tasked with single-handedly taking down the enemy's army using only your dogfighting skills. Credit where it's due here, the game has far deeper mechanics than I ever expected. Your engine can stall if you slow down too much or fly at too steep of an angle. You can steal enemy planes in midair after ejecting from your own plane. You constantly have to watch your fuel gauge and the damage on each part of your plane, and each of those parts has its own negative effects when damaged. This would all make for an incredibly detailed, fun experience if the game was much fun. The flying is very loose and doesn't feel all that fun to control, especially with all the factors you've got to watch for at any given point. I could excuse that if it felt like the missions were well designed. The game has three major campaigns, two of which are exactly the same. In the normal and veteran campaigns, you're tasked with completing randomly generated missions with only 3 lives. These are all pretty simple, but incredibly repetitive. I wasn't honestly sure that the normal campaign would end because it just kept throwing different crap at me without showing any signs of actual progression. It doesn't help that a game over here starts you back at the very start of the campaign, and that your player can die separately from your plane count, something I didn't know at first. Even though the game tells you that you have 3 planes, if your player dies, your game is over here. Eventually, and mercifully though, it does end, and afterwards you'll unlock the Frontline campaign, which tasks you with liberating a few dozen islands within a set time limit. These islands have their own specific objectives, usually based around destroying things. This one is much better, because dying isn't an instant game over, it just resets you to the last island you liberated. Sometimes you'll also run into stronger barren enemies who will really give you a run for your money rather than just blindly shooting at you. Once you kill one of these stronger enemies, you'll unlock the Veteran campaign, which is just the same as the normal campaign, but without any assistance from the game when it comes to landing your plane, among other things. There's also a survival mode where you go as long as you can, but that's locked from the start as well. You only have to take down 20 other planes to unlock it, but at that point just unlock it from the start so that players have a more traditional shmup-styled gameplay option. Shmups are actually a genre that I really enjoy, which is what makes Rogue Aces so disappointing to me. It's got a lot of really cool ideas that are both explained really poorly and executed decently at best. If not for one of the trophies, I wouldn't have had a clue that you can steal enemy planes, for example, and beyond that, it simply doesn't work well on a stationary console. The gameplay is far too repetitive, and the enemies are far too dumb and far too weak for this to really keep your interest for that long. Unless you're a die-hard fan of the arcade shoot-'em-ups of old, I would take a hard pass on this one. Next up is Gunhouse, which I don't even know what this game. It's a hybrid match 3 and wave-based tower defense game. You're given a small window to match up a square of the same color block, and then you push those bigger blocks to the left or the right to load a gun or super attack respectively. After the timer runs out, some enemies will rush your base and you use those guns and supers to shoot at them. When you run out of attacks to use, the matching game restarts for a little while and then rinse and repeat. It's not bad, but that's the absolute best I can say about it. It's by its very nature an incredibly repetitive game, and the constant back and forth both spices it up slightly and makes it feel incredibly disjointed. I mean, I was barely able to appreciate the different enemy types and the art style because I'm far too focused on unleashing my attacks to make sure they don't get to my base. As you defeat these enemies, you'll earn money that you can use to level up the different weapon and special types, unlock new ones, and beef up your health. I honestly don't have more to say about this one. It works even worse on the PS4 than Rogue Aces does. If you have a Vita, it might be worth trying out at least, but otherwise, just pass on it. For you trophy hunters out there, Gunhouse only has a handful of trophies and no platinum, but Rogue Aces at least does have a platinum trophy. That platinum will probably take you a little while to get though, and a lot of frustration with the controls, so I wouldn't recommend it. And if you're watching this after the games come off of PS Plus, Rogue Aces is $13 on the PlayStation Store, and Gunhouse is $15. These games are both worth no more than about $5, so if for whatever reason you really want them, I would really wait for a sale. With that said, what games are you hoping to see on PS Plus in March? Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more.